te martyalokam vishanti evam tri dharmam anuprapana gat gatat gatat tatam kama kama labante. Excuse me. Translation. This is very important. When they have thus enjoyed vast heavenly pleasure, and the results of their pious activities are exhausted, they return to this mortal planet again. Thus, those who seek sense enjoyment by adhering to the principles of the three Vedas achieve only repeated birth and death. You're cheating yourself. It could be argued that, gee whiz, how am I cheating myself? Because I get to go to this really great place and enjoy on such a high level for such a long time. The downside is, gosh, you got to take birth there. Now, what happens when you take birth? You're going to have to die. Somewhere in between, there's going to be old age and disease. Now, granted, in the heavenly planets, there's going to be a whole lot less of old age and disease. But still, it has a duration. It's in the material world. Material things have a duration. Spiritual things, like you, the living entity, have no duration. You see, you're still out of place because you're an eternal living entity and you're in a situation, in a body that is temporary. And so even though it may last for a long time, when the end comes, it seems like, oh man, I feel like I just got started here. It's like I've seen people, my son used to live in Hawaii and I went through there many times, and nice temple, really nice temple, nice restaurant in Honolulu. And I would listen to people as I'd walk on the beach chanting my rounds. I'd hear people say, wow, this week vacation, we're leaving tomorrow. It seems like it was just yesterday that we got here. You see, this is common. It seems like it just goes just like that. It's like many times I've gone to spend the winter in India, in Mayapur, for one purpose or another. And so I would be sleeping and going through my day, going to the programs. And the first few days I'd be thinking, this is so wonderful. I've got so many months. I've got 5 more months in this. This is great. Seems like I'm going to be here for such a long time. Then it seems like in no time at all, I've realized I'm leaving next week. I'm going back to the United States. So it happens like that. There is a duration, even though it may look like, oh, I'm going to India for 6 months. Still, the time comes when it's almost time to leave. So this is disturbing to the living entity. We want something that's permanent. And the reason why is because we're permanent. So, yeah, the verse again. When they have thus enjoyed vast heavenly sense pleasure, and the results of their pious activities are exhausted, they return to this mortal planet again. In other words, as you perform pious activities, you accrue kind of a pious bank account. It's called punya. You know, you're as you do pious things, as you're a good guy, or you're a kind person, and or maybe you make some offering to the demigods. You're making deposits into your account of pious activities. But this account is not unlimited. So when you go to this place, when you go to the respective heavenly planet that you've achieved, you've got a fixed amount of punya, of benefit. It's like checking into a place and you've got, you give them your credit card, and let's say there's a $10,000 credit limit. And so you can check into a luxury hotel and you can stay there as long as you want, except one of these days they're going to come knocking on your door and say, hey, it's time to go. Your credit limit has run out, you see. So this is the nature of the material world. Even if you make it to the heavenly planets, you can't stay forever. That's not good for someone, some living entity who is eternal. Prabhupada says in the purport, one who is promoted to the higher planetary systems enjoys a longer duration of life and better facilities for sense. Yet one is not allowed to stay there forever. It's not a forever arrangement. One is again sent back to this earth upon finishing the resultant fruits of pious activities. He who has not attained perfection of knowledge has, as indicated in the Vedanta Sutra, Janmadyasa yataha, or in other words, he who fails to understand Krishna, the cause of all causes, becomes baffled about achieving the ultimate goal of life and is thus subjected to the routine of being promoted to the higher planets and then again coming down as if situated on a Ferris wheel, which sometimes goes up, sometimes comes down. The purport is that instead of being elevated to the spiritual world, from which there is no longer any possibility of coming down, one simply revolves in the cycle of birth and death on higher and lower planetary systems. One should better take the spirit to the spiritual world to enjoy an eternal life full of bliss and knowledge, and never return to this miserable material existence. Prabhupada is saying a lot here. He compares it to like a Ferris wheel. You know, the Ferris wheel is something you get on and it goes up and it comes back down, and it goes up and it comes back down. It's very similar. The predicament that the living entity is in the material world. We may work ourselves up to the pious heavenly planets, and then once that account is done, we come back to this planet. We probably, from time to time, will accrue some negative karma that will send us to the lower worlds, the more hellish worlds. This Earth planet is considered to be in the middle. You see, not the heavenly, not the hellish. We're somewhere in the middle. So, but rest assured, we've been to the lower planets. And then we've also transcended to the higher planets, just like this Ferris wheel that Prabhupada is talking about. Sometimes we're going up, sometimes we're going down, and that's okay. You're eternal. You can do this for a long, long time. As we gain some spiritual knowledge, some real spiritual knowledge, we decide, I don't want to continue doing this for eternity. I don't want to go up and down, and you see, I want my entitlement, my eternal entitlement. I want to go home where I came from. So, any questions or discussion at this point before I go on? Prabhupada says the purport is that instead of being elevated to the spiritual world, from which there is no longer any possibility of coming down, one simply revolves in the cycle of birth and death on higher and lower planetary systems. So this is pretty much sums up the position. Instead of going to the internal world, we can stay here and just revolve, going up, coming down. We can stay here as long as we want to. Nobody's going to push you out, but you will be pushed from place to place. You'll be moved around. Sometimes from your activities, you'll earn some heavenly existence, and sometimes once that's gone, and from your negative activities, you'll earn some hellish existence. So we've been there and we've done that. In verse 21, Krishna says, Ananyas chintayanto mam ye janaha paryupashate tesham nitya viyuktanam yogashema vahamyam. Krishna says, but we've talked about going around and around and around, and you can go up and down. You earn these highest credits, and you lose them, you exhaust them. Now you've got to come back here, and then you earn some negative credits, and you find yourself. So we're going around and around this Ferris wheel. But Krishna says, but those who always worship me with exclusive devotion, meditating on my transcendental form, to them, I carry what they lack, and I preserve what they have. So this is one of my very favorite verses. If you get familiar with it, it'll probably become one of your favorites as well. Again, Krishna says, but those who always worship me with exclusive devotion. Listen to what he's saying here. Take it literally. It's like when two people are dating. Two people start to date, and they become very attracted to one another. But they're still dating other people. They're still, you're just really good friends. And maybe the relationship starts to get very serious, more and more serious. As the relationship starts to get more and more serious, at some point or other, one of you or both of you are going to come to the point to where you want to become exclusive. People will say, let's be exclusive. I love you. In other words, I want you to be my person. I want you to be my exclusive lover. And when there's an agreement, yes, I want to be exclusive with you too. Now we've taken it to the higher level. We've all heard of that. We've all experienced that. It doesn't get to the higher level as long as people are saying, well, you may be my number one, but I also date other people. See, I'm not committed to other people, or I'm not committed to you any more than I am anybody else. Maybe a little bit more, but I still date other people. When it gets to the point where I want to commit my love and affection to you exclusively, and you're committing your love and affection to me exclusively, now we have a real tight love affair. This is what Krishna is asking for. Those who always worship me with exclusive devotion. In other words, don't worship anybody else. Now, if you say, I'm not ready to take our relationship to that level, that's okay. Go ahead and worship. Maybe today you go to the synagogue, and then tomorrow you go to the church, and then you may go to the temple, and you may do whatever. There are many people who try to do that. It's like they're hedging their bets or something. And it's a way of doing pious activities without commitment. It's like spiritually dating around. The famous kirtan star Krishna Das, he likes to do that. He calls himself a spiritual slut, in that he sleeps around. That's his terminology. He calls himself that because he's not really committed to any one particular thing. So I'm spiritual, but I'm not really committed. I can hang with this one, or I can hang with that one. All right, so you're spiritual, but you're not on that level that Krishna's asking you to get to. He's wanting, when you get to ready, when you're going to come back to your original position, he's ready. Those who always worship me with exclusive devotion, meditating on my transcendental form. Why the form? Why is Krishna bringing the form thing in here? Well, because if he doesn't have a form, what is there to love? When you bring love into the equation, what is there to love if there's no form? I've heard all kinds of people try to dance around and give me some answer that doesn't really make any sense. And if it doesn't make any sense, you can't defeat it. You see? And so, because they didn't really say anything. So I don't know about all of you, but I've had this conversation many times over the last almost 50 years with people. For you to feel love, there must be an object of your love, you see, and that object must have some form. Does that make any sense? It has to. In other words, you have to be able to picture it. Now, if it's a non-form, then all I can do is love whatever that non-form may give me. Nirvana, okay? Nirvana, what is it? What do I get? I get shanti. I get peace. And I can love the fact that I get peace. Or Brahm Jyoti. So we're talking about liberation into the darkness, liberation into the light. So nirvana means nothing, void. That means no light either. There's nothing. It's void. So on the other hand, the other liberation, these are real. You can go there. We're not saying it doesn't exist. The other liberation on another extreme would be to be liberated into the light, into the Brahm Jyoti. What do I get when I get there? Peace. I get peace. I get to get away from the material trouble of this material world. Finally, I get. I'm not in anxiety from the material energy. But do I get love? Some people will say yes. All right. What do you love? I'm not even asking you who, because there's no question of who. If there's no personality, that means there's no who. Personality it means there is a who. It means there is a personality. There's something about them, the way they do this, the way they say that, the way they look at me, the way that we exchange love. You see, there must be some sort of an interface with that entity. If I'm just in the void or just in the light, I'm feeling tremendous peace. What will I do for love? Which means neither one of these are full-time. Even though I've transcended into the spiritual aspect, I'm no longer, and I can stay there as long as I want. You see, I can stay. I don't have to take another body if I'm in nirvana or if I'm in the Brahm Jyoti. I can stay there as long as I'm satisfied. So as long as that feeling of shanti, peace, as long as I'm satisfied with that, then I can stay there. I'm not forced out. However, when I start to want to interface and have a loving exchange, I can't do it there. I'm going to have to go someplace else. So the yogi turns around and comes back to the material world and takes birth again. And at some point, will advance towards a loving relationship with Krishna. Prabhupada says in the purport, wait a minute, let me go on. I want to, again, Krishna saying, if you're meditating on my transcendental form. Now, here's the deal that Krishna's putting on the table. The transcendental supreme negotiator, the deal maker. Krishna is saying, if you always worship me with exclusive devotion, make me your exclusive lover. Meditate on my transcendental form. Those are the two things he's asking you to do. If you do that, I carry what you lack, which means I'll give you anything. Whatever you lack, I will supply. I'll give you whatever you need, and I'll preserve what you already have. In other words, there's not going to be any cost. I'm not going to take anything from you, but I'll give you whatever you lack. So he's really, really pouring his heart out. Krishna's saying, if you'll just be my lover, if you'll I want to be exclusive with you, and I want you to meditate on my transcendental form. And why would God say this? Well, God is the most attractive entity. God is the source of beauty. So if I'm the source of beauty, if I'm the most beautiful living entity, the most beautiful object, wouldn't it be nice to be observed? I mean, come on, it only makes sense. So if you're God and you're so beautiful, wouldn't you want to share that with someone? Now, someone might say, well, God is complete within himself. Yeah, that's true. He is complete within himself. But he also wants to share himself with you. Not just you, me too, all of us. So Krishna wants you to see. He wants to see you. You are beautiful also. You're part and parcel of him. You in this liberated position as the eternal soul, you are beautiful as well. More beautiful than we can imagine. See? So Krishna wants to see you, and he wants you to see him. Not just to have some thinking that I know there is a God and I know there is great pleasure with that God. No, no. Up close and personal. This is how love is shared. Love is an up close and personal thing. So, any questions at this point?
Jivananda.
Yes.
This is Bhakta Bob.
Hey, Hare Krishna.
Hey, Hare Krishna. So, transcendental form, with that, I've been working with, I had a few interesting conversations with family members of patients. And I recently had a conversation with one of my patient members in the family, and she said she was very devotional. You could tell she had a devotional nature, if you will. But she said she doesn't feel like she's close to God. Like she doesn't get a response. And I haven't had lengthy conversations, but I was very tempted to, like, when you say transcendental form, is that like a picture of Krishna, a photo of Krishna, an image of Krishna that would be helpful to kind of stimulate that?
By all means.
By all means, okay.
By all means. It's like, let's say you're ordering, I mean, this is a crude example, but let's say you're ordering a mail order bride. Okay. So, from China or Russia. And so you've heard all these wonderful things about this mail order bride, your mail order mate, great cook, fabulous sense of humor, so much. Sooner or later, you're going to say, hey, you got a picture?
Right. Right.
I mean, from what you're telling me about this person, I'm heading towards love. I can feel it. But have you got a Facebook page or something? You got a picture? I mean, like that. Even if you could just give me a really great description, but a picture would really be great. But a description, in other words, I want to complete my attraction to this person. And so I need to, it's like George Harrison says, I really want to see you. I really want to be with you. This is bhakti. This is now, I'm not saying that other beliefs that don't go to seeing and being with, I'm not saying that they're not legitimate. If you don't want to see and be with, then you want something along the way towards full liberation with Krishna. That's okay. You're cheating yourself because you can go all the way. So you can have the seeing and the being with and the loving reciprocation. that belongs to you. You're entitled to it. See? But if I'm so caught up in self-interest, then I'm just going to do what I think is good for my enjoyment.
Mm-hmm.
But if I try to satisfy Krishna's senses, he has senses, he has transcendental senses, he has transcendental form. So Krishna is the source of enjoyment. So if I try to please my beloved Krishna, he doesn't need any help from me to be pleased. He's pleased and complete already. But if I make some effort to please him, he becomes very pleased, not with what I'm offering him, but with the love that I have that made me want to please him. You know,
Mm-hmm.
what can we offer the source of everything? You know, it's like I remember when my mother died. I went, to down to her house, and we were going through things that she'd kept for decades and decades. And she had kept little things, little notes that I and my siblings had written to her, pictures that we had drawn, and they're like stick people. It's not good art. And we're saying, I love you, mommy, and it's not spelled properly, and that's hard to read. So it's kind of rotten, but it wasn't that, oh, look how nicely they wrote this, or the poetry isn't especially great, or the artwork. It was the love, you see, that made her save it all of her life. Like for 60 years she had kept this stuff because she accepted the love. You see what I mean? Now, if you show it to anybody else, they'd say, well, what are you attracted to that for? That's dumb. Nothing there great at all. Hey, is that Brady? Hey, Brady man. Hare Krishna. Does that
Hare
answer
Krishna.
your question, Bob?
Yes, it does. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So some sort of a picture.
Okay. Yeah.
You
Well,
know?
yeah, definitely. We'll talk more about it later in person maybe, but it's just been something that's been coming up time and time again with some of my patients. So
Yeah.
especially when, they're approaching the end of their life and you were saying earlier how people recognize how quickly their life goes by. It's like a dream. People have time and time again tell me their life in retrospect just feels like it was a dream, wasn't
Right.
real.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. So
yeah. That's that, and that is because we are eternal living entities.
Mm-hmm.
Things that have a duration don't make any sense to us.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it's like, wow, I've lived 85 years.
Mm-hmm.
Seems like it went by just like that.
Right.
You go on a long vacation. Wow, it seems like it's over just like that.
Mm-hmm.
We are eternal. We want eternal experiences. Now, if we are not eternal, why would we put so much emphasis on things being longer?
Mm-hmm.
See what I mean? If it
Yep.
was natural to die, and everything in this world that's ever taken birth here has died, if that was natural for the living entity, then we'd be used to it by now. See?
Right. Yeah.
But it doesn't make sense to us, this whole I've got to die thing, and this, because you know what? I'm eternal. I know I'm eternal. Mm-hmm. So therefore I need something else. Mm-hmm. So therefore, does that make any sense?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Yeah. So anybody else before I move on? I'm going to go into the purport a little bit.
I know one thing I did.
Who's this?
Sarah.
Okay, Sarah, what is your question, comment?
I had a friend of mine at a pharmacy somebody took her picture of Jesus, and I just happened to have a picture of Krishna in my wallet that was given to me by Kurt's ex-wife, which Kurt is the one who introduced me to Krishna.
Uh-huh.
And I gave her the picture of Krishna. I said, here to replace your Jesus for a little while to watch over you. And she kept it for about 3 or 4 weeks and then handed it back to me and said, thank you. But I had Krishna watch over her while she waited for her Jesus to come back.
Yeah, and another realization is that if you can catch up and attain the association of Lord Jesus Christ, he will take you to his Father. That Father is Krishna. Now, some people may say, well, no, it doesn't say that in the Bible. What, no. Father.
I can vouch for that experience personally, because I've known Jesus my whole life. And that's exactly how I came to Krishna, as he led me out of Christianity and to Krishna.
Right. And you don't have to give up being a Christian to be a Hare Krishna. It's not like you got to quit that club and join another one. It's not like that. See? No, Jesus brings you to his Father. But that doesn't mean that you reject him now. You get to keep Jesus,
Yeah, that was Deborah, by the way. It's me.
Hare Krishna, Deborah. All right, I'm going to go on with the purport a little bit, and then we can discuss some more. Prabhupada says here, one who is unable to live for a moment without Krishna consciousness cannot but think of Krishna 24 hours a day, being engaged in devotional service by hearing, chanting, remembering, offering prayers, worshiping, serving the lotus feet of the Lord, rendering other services, cultivating friendship, and surrendering fully to the Lord. Just listen to imagine this picture that Prabhupada is painting here of our relationship, the ultimate eternal relationship with the Supreme Godhead. If you are unable to live for a moment without Krishna consciousness and cannot but think of Krishna 24 hours a day, we're talking love here, you see. There's only a couple of things that can inspire something like thinking always of somebody. One of them is love, and the other might be hate or fear, you see. If you're living in a situation like you're in a concentration camp and the leader there, the guard, is really treacherously mean and nasty to you, you may think of him all the time because he may be coming around the corner at any minute. On the other hand, if you're fully in love, you think of your beloved all the time, you see. So one who is unable to live for a moment without Krishna consciousness cannot think of Krishna but 24 hours a day. How do we do that? Being engaged in devotional service. How do we do that? By hearing, chanting, remembering, offering prayers, worshiping, serving the lotus feet of the Lord, rendering other services, cultivating friendship, and surrendering fully to the Lord. All right, let's break that down. Being engaged in devotional service by hearing, like we're doing now. We're hearing about Krishna conscious philosophy. We may read Krishna book or discuss Krishna book. So then we're discussing Krishna's pastimes. His pastimes are beautiful. He's beautiful. His pastimes are beautiful. Hearing, chanting his glories, chanting his fame, chanting his name. When you're in love with somebody, you want to talk about every facet of chanting, and then remembering. Once you hear these wonderful concepts of Krishna, stories of Krishna, once you get to know Krishna's personality a little bit, you start to remember it. If you're in love with somebody, even a little bit, you will remember them. Offering prayers. This is remembering Krishna. If I'm remembering Krishna, and I need some help, he's going to be the first. He's my go-to guy immediately. Oh, dear Krishna, help me, please. Help me with this obstacle. I'm simply trying to serve you, my Lord, and there is some obstacle. Please help me. You see, that's remembering Krishna. Or don't have to remember Krishna when you need some help. You might remember Krishna like, if you're in love with someone or someone is in love with you, you might get a text or a note or email or something, and they're saying, just thinking of you. Isn't that sweet? You'll get a note from someone, just thinking of you. Well, that's flattering. So in other words, I'm not asking you to do anything for me. I'm not making any request. I'm just thinking of you. I'm remembering you. I'm offering prayers because I love you. I want to praise you. Worshiping. We worship. We can worship by offering some food stuff to Krishna. Whatever we eat, we should offer to Krishna first. Offer some incense, some flour. Krishna says, Patram pushpam palam toyam. You can offer flower, fruit, water, or leaf, something, whatever, something nice you offer to Krishna. Krishna accepts the love. So if you think, well, I don't have a flower that could possibly please Krishna. Krishna has incredibly wonderful, beautiful, fragrant flowers. So what could I possibly offer from this earth planet? What kind of flower could I offer Krishna to really wow him? Well, none. But your love, it's the love that Krishna tastes. So if you cook something, say?
The essence.
The essence, yes, it's the love.
It's the Joseph.
Yeah. Hare Krishna, Joseph. Yeah. And so Krishna wants your love. If you cook something for Krishna, we can all agree he has a lot better cooks around him than you. All right? He's surrounded by innumerable pure servants. So he doesn't need you to cook anything for him. You need to cook for him, though. You see, you feel great pleasure, very great happiness when you try to make some nice arrangement for his enjoyment. So you cook something, and it's not the quality of what you've cooked, it's the love that you put into the cooking. That goes along, worshiping and serving the lotus feet go hand in hand, they go together. Rendering other services, cultivating friendship and surrendering fully to the Lord. Now, this is a topic that I hear a lot of people say. Read Bhagavad Gita, Krishna again and again and again is asking you to surrender to him. And so we don't want to surrender to anybody, though. See, surrender means I've been defeated. You send your army and you decimate my country and my army, and now you want me to surrender. So if I surrender, you're going to stop killing me. So it's not that kind of surrender. Krishna wants you to surrender to him because he wants to surrender to you. That is what lovers do. They surrender to one another. You see? So therefore, Krishna keeps saying, surrender unto me. Become my lover, you see. Love me. I want to surrender to you. It's hard for people to develop the concept of a relationship with God on this level, that God wants to serve you. He wants you to take over and be the master. You see? He's ready to surrender. Such activities are all auspicious and full of spiritual potencies, which make the devotee perfect in self-realization, so that his only desire is to achieve the association of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When it gets to the point that our love and our awareness of Krishna, our understanding of Krishna, when it gets to a point that we can only think of him and hardly anything else, in other words, we're really falling in love. We're falling for the guy. Prabhupada says here that this only desire is to achieve his association. Yeah, it gets like that. If I'm always thinking of Krishna, always worshiping, always feeling the loving exchange, I only desire to have his association. I can associate with him through his name. I can chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Or I can discuss, I can read about, or I can discuss with you his pastimes, his attributes. I can associate with Krishna like that. But I want all of it. I want that personality of Krishna too. I want him in my arms. If I have him in my embrace, then I've got his pastimes and I have his name and I've got everything else. So we want Krishna. We want all of him. Such a devotee undoubtedly approaches the Lord without difficulty. Very important statement. Such a devotee undoubtedly approaches the Lord without difficulty. This is called yoga. How is it that he can undoubtedly approach the Lord without difficulty? Because he's given up self-interest. He's given up any interest separate from that of Krishna. He is interested in Krishna. So a materialistic person may wonder, yes, but if I'm not thinking about me, who will? See, in the material world, that's kind of the theme. You got to look out for yourself. You know, if you don't, who will? So once you start to have some, not even when you're fully self-realized, you have some understanding of self-realization, who and what you are. I am an eternal part and parcel of Krishna. I'm an eternal loving associate of Krishna. I always have been, I always will be. When I can understand that, then I don't have to worry about my benefit anymore, do I? When I can come to the realization that I'm not part of this world. I am not this body. Death is not going to control me. Death is not going to be my ending. Death means I quit this body. But even before death, I'm going to enjoy this relationship with Krishna. See? So Prabhupada says here, such a devotee undoubtedly approaches the Lord without difficulty. He doesn't say when you die. No, you do that now. You can have this loving relationship with Krishna now. And you should. You certainly should. The more you share Krishna with others, the more you hear about and chant about Krishna, the more attached and attracted you become to Krishna. By the mercy of the Lord, such a devotee never comes back to this material condition of life. Very important. As we were talking about going to the heavenly planets, it's really great. It's fantastic. It's everything they say about it and more, except when your punya runs out, when the pious activity account runs out, you got to come back here. So, but by the mercy of the Lord, once you get him, once you get re-established in your home with Krishna, such a devotee never comes back to this material condition of life. No more birth. That means no more death, no more disease, no more old age. You've resumed your eternal transcendental position. This isn't anything new to you. You're just regaining consciousness. that you've lost. You already have it, but it's become covered over. See? That's why it's kind of easy. It's really so much easy for most people to understand that they are eternal, because you are. See? Shema, the word Shema, refers to the merciful protection of the Lord. The Lord helps the devotee to achieve Krishna consciousness by yoga, bhakti yoga, the yoga of love. And when he becomes fully Krishna conscious, the Lord protects him from falling down to a miserable condition life. Once I overcome this mistake that I made by becoming focused on me, my enjoyment, and enjoying separately from Krishna, once I get over myself, Krishna is going to see that I don't fall down into this material condition again. That would be terrible. You come here and you stay here billions and trillions of lifetimes, only to escape it through some self-realization. You regain your eternal, lost, transcendental position, relationship with Krishna again, and then lose it and come back here to birth, death, disease, and old age. Krishna says, no, you don't have to worry about that. Once you can achieve this ultimate relationship, your dormant relationship with Krishna through bhakti yoga, you don't have to worry about losing it. So are there any questions or comments?
Would that be considered, is Joseph again, the son of I, concerned with pure heart, loving Krishna with a conscience?
Say that again.
Would that be considered the son of I, loving with pureness heart on Krishna?
What do you mean I?
I like I-E-Y-E, son of I.
Oh, well, you are part and parcel. You, the living entity, not your body. You, the soul that occupies the body. You are an eternal part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. But this sounds foreign to us because we've forgotten it. We've become overcome by this material energy. And as we're trying to get our way out, we get attracted down so many different paths. This happens to people who get lost in the woods. You know, you hear about people that they may be wandering through Yosemite National Park or the forest, whatever. And then they decide they want to go back home. They want to go back to the car. So on their way back, they get attracted. Let's go, let's see this. I think this looks like a good path here. Let's try this. And people that are rescued, they all say the same thing. Well, we thought that it was this way. We thought it was that way. We thought we would try this. We thought we would try that. And they just get more and more lost. So, and the problem is I'm thinking so much of me that I can't think enough about Krishna to follow the path back to Krishna, which is bhakti yoga, serving Krishna through love and devotion. See? Does that answer your question? Joseph? All right, anybody else? Does anybody else have any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna. This is Kurt.
Hare Krishna, Kurt.
Let's see. I'm gonna. Okay, yeah, my video won't come on. So, but my so I really appreciate how you emphasize how much Krishna loves us and wants to associate with us in that way. I was thinking about earlier. You used the metaphor of the the Ferris wheel, going down, down and then up again and so forth. And you were using it in reference to the heavenly planets versus the lower planets and so on and so forth. But I find myself, that's a daily occurrence with me. I find myself where I can be at one point, I can be, feeling very, very connected with Krishna, and I can be, be very optimistic. And then maybe not even 5 minutes later, I can be feeling, exactly the opposite, and those sorts of things. And so I just wanted to share something that my Guru Maharaj has been talking about the last couple of days. He pointed out that the holy name, first of all, of course, the holy name is an avatar, is Krishna, and he says that, like Lord Chaitanya, the holy name is so merciful that even if we make offenses at the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, or whatever it is that we do, the holy name is so merciful that if we keep chanting, eventually, we're going to reach the stage that you're talking about. And so for me, that kind of thing is very encouraging, because a lot of times I just see, where I'm not, I just see like, okay, I'm not at this level, or I'm not, I'm not realizing this or whatever. But to emphasize, just continuing to, as you're saying, try to remember Krishna, try to remember, try to associate with the devotees, etc. Because another aspect to this too, of course, is that, the soul, we take the path of least resistance when we leave the body. So, are we going to be thinking about, Krishna when we leave our body, or are we going to be thinking about something else or someone else, So that's another aspect of, remembering Krishna, because we want Krishna to be in our hearts, or on our minds, when we leave, because there's no telling what condition we're going to be in that, at that time, So, but I very much appreciate your emphasis on how much Krishna loves us and wants to engage with us in love.
This is the activities of the Supreme, exchanging love. You see, this is the highest activity for any entity, including God, exchanging love. Think of it, if you were God, wouldn't you have the sweetest love that possible in your life? Wouldn't you have wonderful love and be surrounded by these wonderful, loving, living entities? You see, wouldn't you? Of course you would. So this is what he does. This is what God does. People say, well, he's the man who stills the water. We want to engage God as the guy who's like a workhorse. He's always doing all these things. Well, he has people to do that, you see. Bill Gates is a rich guy. He has people to wash his car, you see. So Krishna has people. He has demigods to handle the weather, and to handle this and to handle that, create this, destroy that. Krishna, what does he have? What does he devote his time to? Love, and not just part-time, partial love. We're talking eternal love. And for a love to be eternal, it's got to be really sweet. It's got to be fantastic, you see? And that's where you come in. You are part of that fantastic love. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, Hare Krishna.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have any other reason for existing other than to be part of this love, this ongoing reciprocal love with the Supreme, you see? And when you're doing that, when you're loving God and reciprocating love with God, you are functioning. You're a part of his machine and you're functioning properly. When you're not loving God, you are malfunctioning. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, the famous verse at the conclusion of the Bhagavad Gita, give up all varieties of religion and surrender unto me. Rita Ananda Maharaj pointed out that a more literal translation of that would be give up false dharmas. And if we take dharma to mean intrinsic quality, that which we are ultimately, but ultimately what Krishna is saying is stop being something other than yourself. Stop being someone other than yourself.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Stop pretending to be something, or stop trying to be something that you're not. I mean, we all know that in the material world, people are trying to be something that they're not. They're trying to look younger. They're trying to look slimmer. They're trying to act smarter than they really are. But the whole world, and we know this, the whole world is fake. Everyone is putting on an act. People are different with you when you meet them out in public than they're going to be with you after they get to know you very well. They're not going to be as polite and nice. People are not being themselves. People don't do that very much in the material world. Does that make any sense?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
In the so in other words, I want to put forth an image, and that's my self-image. And I want you to respect my self-image. And I have an image of me, and you can become my friend if you can see me the way I see me. If I see myself as a really smart guy, very educated, and you feel the same way, then I might kind of like you. But if you see me as a guy that's just pretending, then I'm going to try to avoid your association. And I might tell other people not to associate with you. You see, this is material consciousness. It's a world of you trying to be somebody or something that you are not. You never have been, and you never will be. You're never going to be a human being. You can't do that.
We have a follow-up question from the chat from someone who doesn't have a microphone.
Okay.
So Zoe asks, how do you know when you are being yourself and not fake?
When you're loving Krishna, when you're feeling some love for Krishna and all the other living entities. So much so that you're not thinking about your own gratification or being concerned whether they love you back. Well, gee whiz, I could love this guy over here, but he doesn't seem to be loving me. That you, as a living entity, as an eternal part and parcel of Krishna, your function is to love. You have always been loved by the Supreme Lover, Krishna. You've always been. That has never stopped. It can never stop. So you don't ever, if you ever feel unloved, you're an illusion. That's not being conscious of Krishna. If you're conscious of Krishna, you can have the consciousness that he loves you unlimitedly, and eternally. You see what I mean? So does that make any sense? So if I understand that I am loved, I am overloved, if anything. So then I can just focus my energy on just loving all living entities.
No.
I have some 2 cents to add. This is Deborah about
Deborah.
knowing about knowing whether you're being fake or real. To me, as you learn the difference between who you are in your soul as a soul versus your attachment to your carnal body, you'll learn the difference between when you're being fake and when you're being real.
Yeah, once you get a little bit of self-realization, You learn who you are. Self-realization means realizing the self. And so you'll be able to know when you deviate from being real, from being the true self. You see? I mean, it's going to take some practice there for a while, and you may have to tell yourself from time to time to behave. Stop thinking like that. Stop treating people this way. Stop trying to compete with people. Stop trying to outdo the other people. Stop trying to be the center of attention. Stop trying to be the center of the universe for yourself and for others. You see, you'll catch yourself when you're doing that, because it'll have an uncomfortable feeling once you get I'm not saying you become fully self-realized, but at least once you get well established, started on that road to becoming self-realized, then these other things will not be attractive to you. It just will not be for you. So you will not be comfortable in this self-interest, which is the big fall down of the living entity. Good point, Deborah. Thank you so much.
Prabhu, I'd like to share something from my notes. This is
Please
in
do.
Srimad Bhagavatam, since we're talking about, I guess, being fake or being real. This is in the 4th canto, verse 22, 14. Bhavatso kushala prasna atmarameshu nishyate kushalak kushalayatra nashanti mati vrittayaha. So mati vrittayaha, this mental concoction, shanti exists. So Prabhupada says in his purport here that simply by association we create artificial material necessities. So we can realize if something's fake or temporary, or we can realize something is to our eternal, like spiritual benefit, something that's going to bring out our natural constitutional position of a servant to the Supreme, by what we're associating with, right? By what's coming in is what's coming out. So this is how we identify if we're being fake or not. So Dhyayato vishayan pumsha sangasteshu pajayate. When we forget our real constitutional position and wish to enjoy the material resources, including our senses, our material desires manifest, and we associate with varieties of material enjoyment. As soon as the concoctions of material enjoyment are there, because of our association, we create a sort of lust or eagerness to enjoy them. And when that false enjoyment does not actually make us happy, we create another illusion. I can keep going, but known as anger, and by the manifestation of anger, illusion becomes stronger. So if we want to know what if we're becoming fake or real or not, we have to see what it is that we're associating with. And that's the 3 modes of material nature, of course. And then there's the transcendental platform, which is Krishna. So we have to come up to this mode of goodness per se, but beyond that, we have to connect with Krishna, as you're saying. So what are we associating with? Morning, noon, and night. And that can be different forms of media, different types of relationships, different types of books we read. Depending upon these modes and what we're associating within these modes will determine to what degree we're being contaminated or fake or real. So just some notes there that I had written down from something I had read previously. So our constitutional position is that of a servant. You know, Prabhupada says, I think it was in the 3rd canto somewhere in Lord Kapila's instructions on devotional service, that there's 3 things. There's service, there's the servant, and the master. And there's a particular verse, I think it's in one of the later chapters, about how a devotee how to become a great person is to not have a sense of proprietorship. So opposite of that would be to have some sort of proprietorship over material nature and associate it with yourself, wanting some enjoyment over it. So there's a nice example that's also given about how Lord Chaitanya, when he came down, he didn't even want to be known as God. He just wanted to be a devotee of Krishna.
Right.
This is Lord Chaitanya directly, as you were speaking earlier, following in the footsteps of the acharyas. Who are we to try and think that we can become God and or enjoy and exploit material nature? Pretty much the reason why we're all in isolation now. So just some minor comments. I'm sure Dayananda Prabhu could unpack more if he'd like. He's always got something nice to say about yagya and enjoyment and exploitation. I really agree a lot with him, but just something that came to mind.
Yeah, Dayananda Prabhu, are you there?
Uh-oh, you caught me. I just turned away to do something else. I heard my name and I thought, oh, I wasn't listening.
Yeah, we're talking about exploitation over material nature and how that can cover the living entity, and we become more conditioned, you know? We start to identify with material nature, and we forget that we're loving servants of Krishna. So I figured that you sent me a really nice article today on exploitation and how it's kind of led to our demise, to where we're isolated. So I just felt like you've always got something really nice to say about exploiting the environment and sacrificing yagya. So I didn't know if you had anything you'd like to allude to that.
Yes, well, what can I say? You kind of caught me on the spot, but yes, well, earlier we were talking about being selfless, and that to love Krishna is to be selfless. And my favorite discussion on that matter is from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. It's a discussion, these are a few verses by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who's in a sense the founder of our movement 500 years ago. And he talks about it's his Shikshastak and a discussion by Krishnadas Kaviraj. And he talks about this highest love being selfless. And he gives the example of Radharani, or he actually enacts the mood of Radharani. And when I read that, when I think about it, I just find it amazing, this idea of selfless love for God. And Jivananda Prabhu was talking about how even when we come to religion and we say, oh, well, I think I'll do this religion because it's good for me. I mean, it's really a very interesting and wonderful concept. And the idea, we often say, because in India, that self-realization and becoming spiritually advanced and liberation, these are goals of yoga. But Prabhupada constantly said that these things are also selfish. So I really resonated with that point that you mentioned, Jivananda Prabhu. And as far as exploitation is concerned, the Prabhupada often said, well, just recently I was looking at a purport to one of Bhagavad Gita verses, and Prabhupada was basically explaining that if you're not at least fulfilling your human destiny, which is to look for liberation, to have some understanding of the self, the soul, then he uses very strong language. He says, you're living like an animal. So it's harsh. Sometimes it's kind of like tough love. I mean, we have to kind of get a little sort of figurative slap in the face sometimes to wake us up. But if we're not pursuing self-realization, then all this business of exploiting the world and having everything come back on us and suffering virus, disease, and all these things, they upset us. But really, we should be even more upset by the fact that we live like animals, basically. What does that means? Prabhupada describes eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. It's not just Prabhupada. This is the ahara nidra bhayamaitana. That's in the Sanskrit literature. So this kind of behavior is unfortunate, and that we find everywhere. So very harsh language says that if we're not up to this standard, it's very critical, basically, of human society, that concept. So Maharaj Jivananda Prabhu was alluding, or he was talking about a very high level to become selfless in our relationship with Krishna. Anyway, did I ramble here? Is that okay?
Sounds good to me. Where's Jivananda Prabhu at? Let me see. Unmute. Somehow or another, his mic was muted. Okay. Yeah. Does anybody else have any questions or comments?
I had a quick question for Jivananda Prabhu regarding what we were talking about earlier, and as the true self, or how to know if it's the true self.
Yeah.
So give me 1 second. Let me get to a more quiet spot here.
Okay. Is he gone or what happened?
Said he was looking for a more quiet spot.
Okay. Well, I guess until he finds a spot, just want to let everybody know that on Sunday, we're going to have I think Donna Kelly Mataji will be joining us. She's a very scholarly devotee, amazing devotee. So she's a teacher. She's just a very good teacher.
Hey, guys.
Hey, Hare Krishna.
There you go.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. So my question was that you were mentioning that when we're acting as our true self, we're feeling love for Krishna and we're feeling love for other living entities as well. So is it another side effect that, a person, even though they feel love for Krishna and that might increase day by day, they feel as though they're not doing enough. They feel almost shortcomings in the fact that they love Krishna and that they love other living entities, but they still feel like they haven't done enough, like they don't love Krishna enough, or that, they thought about Krishna more than yesterday, but they still didn't think about Krishna all day.
That's a really good point. To the degree that we love somebody, to that degree, we will always feel that we're not loving them enough. You see what I mean? If you, in other words, it's not like, well, look, I've done enough. That should be enough to satisfy you. It's like if you're wanting to cook something very nice for Krishna, you're never going to think, well, this is really super duper great. You're going to think, well, even if Krishna says, oh, this is very wonderful, you may be thinking, well, I'm glad that you like it, but next time I've realized there's something else I can do to make it even better. So when there's love involved, we're moved to do things on a much higher level. You see, we will never be satisfied, even though our beloved may be satisfied with our actions. We're not going to be satisfied because we always want it to be better. We're driven by love, which is the opposite of self-motivation. You see, the material consciousness means self-motivation. We're thinking of ourselves, self-interest. You see, I'm interested about me. I want to make it the way I want to make it. And it's kind of like in devotional service, there are many things that you can do for devotional service. You may be very expert at something, and you think, and you may think, well, I'd really like to do a particular activity. And so because I'm good at it and I like to do it, I want to do this for Krishna. Well, that's very nice. But wouldn't it be a little bit more pure and loving if we did for Krishna what he wanted to do, wanted us to do? You see? It's just like if you're thinking, I really like Italian food. I really like cooking Italian food. And I'm going to make Italian food for Krishna. That's very wonderful. It's great. However, wouldn't it be more flattering to our beloved, to Krishna, if we tried to get into his head and find out what he might want? You see? So it's higher when we think of the object of our love, our beloved. You see? So does that make any sense?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Thank you, Gurudev.
Yeah. Anybody else? All right. What were you saying, Bhagavan Nard? Something you've got going for Sunday?
Okay, let me. Yeah, this Sunday, if anybody's interested to join us, we'll be back again. We have probably Donna Kelly Mataji joining us. If not, it'll be her husband, Pritushrava Prabhu. And then on Tuesdays, we have a talk with Narottam. He's doing Tuesdays. He did a nice little talk yesterday, and then, of course, next Wednesday as well. I don't know if you, Jivananda Prabhu, would want to go ahead and do next Wednesdays, or if you're tied up.
No, I can do Wednesday. I have Thursday and Sunday. Is somebody talking?
No.
Oh, I have Thursday and Sunday, and now Wednesday. And I may have something going with the Knoxville devotees on Saturday. So, yeah, so Wednesday, Thursday, and Sunday. Wednesday was the San Antonio, if that's your desire, yeah.
Sure. And then also I wanted to mention that Dayananda Prabhu is giving a talk on Saturday to the devotees in New York. I believe it is Matchless Gifts. I believe that's, or 26th 2nd Avenue. I don't know.
Yeah, it's the Matchless Gifts Temple on 26th 2nd Avenue in New York, and it's on Bhagavad Gita 123. But what I've decided to do is to give a little Bhagavad Gita background from the Mahabharata.
Wow.
So let me see. I can go ahead and put that information posted right here. The Zoom login is.
Can you send us links to those various things? If I get some time on Tuesday, I might like to link into that one.
Yeah, this one is ISKCON New York at Gmail. That's the login. I've never seen that. Usually
that's what he sent to me for the Monday one. I still haven't received the one from Saturday though.
Oh, okay. So we're on the. You can add me if you don't have me on Facebook. I'll put it on my Facebook. I'll put it on my WhatsApp. If anybody's interested to tune in, that's at 5:30. Is that Eastern time or is that Central Standard?
Oh yeah, I
probably Eastern.
Yeah, oh, definitely. It's definitely Eastern time. So that would be our,
Hour ahead. So that's 4:30 Texas time, and that'll be what?
no,
2:30?
we're,
I think we're an hour behind.
yeah, I think we're 6:30.
Hour ahead. Okay.
No, wait a second. I can't remember.
No, we're an hour behind.
I can't think.
We're
It'll
an
be
hour.
4:30 in Texas.
4:30 in Texas, and then West Coast. What would that be? 2:30.
Yeah,
So
3:30 and yeah, okay.
So I'll post that online, and then I'll post it in our WhatsApp group. If anybody else is interested, just shoot me a message. Bhagavan Narada Das, that's my Facebook. Other than that, thank you so much. So
There's
we're all,
also, Hare
There's-
Krishna? Yep.
yes.
There's also Monday, this Monday, the 13th. At 7 o'clock, I'm giving a seminar on the environment, enjoyment and the environment. That's a 7 o'clock Eastern time. So I guess, as you said, 6 o'clock here, and then was that 4 o'clock Eastern, Western time, Pacific Standard Time?
Yeah, and they can actually download your pamphlet, right? Enjoyment and the environment online. I don't know if you want to put a link to that. That's what saveearthnow.info. Right?
Yes.
Saveearthnow.info.
So I'll be discussing that. Yeah, and interestingly, just today, I saw an article on BBC News that said that there's a study by this environmental group. So it looked like a respectable group that links these kinds of diseases to human exploitation of nature. So these kinds of diseases, meaning coronavirus.
Wow.
So you can go to saveearthnow.info, and then it says click to download this enlightening new pamphlet. That's Jivananda Prabhu's pamphlet. It's free. It's nice. You can share it with your friends. And then also he's got all of his lessons here. He's been doing these Bhagavad Gita discourses. So we're in chapter 1, right? You've got all your lessons there by video. Very systematic, very advanced. If anybody's interested in learning further about the Bhagavad Gita in Sanskrit, I highly recommend checking this website out. So it's saveearthnow.info. Okay, that's about it on my end. Thank you so much, Jivananda Prabhu, and thank you all, everybody, for tuning in. And we hope that you can make it on Sunday and Tuesday and next Wednesday, of course, too. And it's a really nice platform to invite newcomers and friends to join in. So we really appreciate it. Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Thank you all so much. It's always a treat. Until we meet again. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Krishna.
All glories to Prabhupada.
Jai. Jai.